What's up, man? Welcome back. This is Mismatch Era podcast, and I'm back again with another one. We got a lot to talk about, man. Tennessee Titans, by the Fountain franchise quarterback. The Grizzlies are off to a horrible start, sitting at 1-6. Uh, and we're gonna talk about it all, man, right here on Mismatch Era.
Toss it. Morant. Drive. Job on. At home. And Morant is the hero.
Man. Welcome back, man. Mismatch Era, man. This is Vaughn. Coach Vaughn is what they call me out here on the socials. So, I guess that's the brand now. I guess that's what we got to run with. That's the brand now. Um, Grizzlies are off to a horrible start, man. Let's first start off by saying missing John Morant for 25 games. We knew that was going to be a tough situation, but no one could have expected this start that we had. No one could expect the injury that we got concerning Steven Adams with him being out for another year. Won't be back until next year. Like there's not even a chance that he's coming back for the playoffs. Of course, we know what happened to Brandon Clark with his Achilles injury. Heard a lot of good things in terms of his progress, but we're not really sure if we're going to see him this year at all, unless we make it to the playoffs and we just so happen to make a big run. But the history of the Grizzlies has shown us that they are going to be extra careful in making sure that Brandon Clark is healthy before he steps out onto that court. We've also had some I guess you can say some nagging injuries with Luke Kennard, Derrick Rose, Sati Aldama, and now Xavier Tillman. So we've had up to 7 players already that have been injured or suspended as a job. So this start is not really that surprising when you put it in that context. And it hasn't really been as bad as we're making it out to be. I think it takes a new team. There are a lot of new pieces on this team. Um, in my opinion, there are a lot of new pieces in different roles where you don't have Tyus Jones to steady that second unit. So you got to find someone who can come in and do so. Derrick Rose had a good game one, but in the games after that, he really couldn't find his groove in terms of leading that second unit. So now he's out. We won't know. I don't think we have really a timeline on when he comes back. I think they said a week, but he's an older guy. I would like to, take it easy and be careful with Derrick Rose before bringing him back, because if he gets injured and he gets seriously injured, that's another big loss. And I think he can be a really big help if and when we step into that playoff setting. Jacob Gilliard has came in and filled in pretty well in that role, but that's just something that happened in the last 2 games. So it took us 4 or 5 games to just get in a rhythm and figure out what roles people are going to be playing, what roles people are going to be in, and that's what can start. That's what can cause a slow start like what we've had so far, as well as with Steven Adams being out, Brandon Clark being out, figuring out the rebound, and we went out and picked up Bismack Biyombo, who had an amazing debut, in my opinion. I really like what I saw for him, not to even be 100% keyed in on what it is that we want to do and what it is that he needs to do on the court in terms of movement and where to be and placement, and for him to go out there and have 8 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks. Amazing. And the stuff that didn't show up on the stat sheet, even the shots that he didn't block, that he altered, even the boxing out that he did to, help other people get rebounds, the switching onto guards on the perimeter and making them pass it up. Like, impressive debut for him as a Memphis Grizzly. So I think we are going to miss Steven Adams, but I don't think we're going to miss him as much as we would have if we had not picked up a Bismack Biyombo. Like, he's really surprised me, and I think that's going to be a nice pickup for us, and I think he's gonna write that ship pretty well. Xavier Tillman started off really well, but as I was saying, as I've been saying in the spaces, shout out to Grid Spaces, shout out to EJ, doing this thing over there at Grid Spaces. Like I said in the spaces, I don't think Xavier Tillman had the knees or the how can I say it, the endurance or the fortitude to be able to handle an 82 game season with all of the things they were asking him to do. I just didn't think that he could do it, and yeah, I still feel that way. I don't think he can do it. So getting Bismack Biyombo was really good. We finally saw some junior minutes. Finally saw some minutes from junior, and I think that he did what he always does. He came in, made an impact immediately. 5 points, 3 boards, 3 assists. No, 2 boards, 3 assists, and a block. All right, like that's good production in the 10 minutes that he got today. So looking to see that a little bit more. There are some people struggling on this team, but I think that we're figuring it out. Finally, a Luke Kennard setting. Um, those kids in St. Jude weren't making as much money at the beginning of this season, but Luke Kennard just came back and he went 4 for 5 from the 3 point line, I believe, and got 4 threes in there. If you don't know, Luke Kennard is donating, I think, $50 for every three that he makes, every 3 pointer that he makes this year to St. Jude. He's donating $50. So those kids made their money yesterday, and that's a welcome sight to see from Luke Kennard with him making shots and being kind of locked in on the defensive end again. Really nice. Got that out the way. We got the others out the way, but I want to talk about our two superstars, man. Our two stars that we have on our roster right now, with Bane and Jaren, who have to carry the load with, John Morant being out and hold on that fort until he comes back. Marcus Smart as well. I'll talk about that trio because Marcus Smart has been getting a lot of flack, but I don't think he deserves that flack. I think he's tried his best to be his best, but I don't think him being the starting point guard is an ideal role. You can start there, but I don't think him handling the ball for the 30 or 35 minutes that he's going to be out there is necessarily putting him in a position where he's most effective. But since then, his role has increased since the beginning of decreased since the beginning of the year as far as on-ball handling, and he's been as advertised, man. Like, he's really shooting the ball pretty well from the 3 point line. His defense is as advertised, as well as Jaren and Bane. Surprisingly, Desmond Bane's defense has been amazing so far this year. The offensive chemistry between those three down the stretch of the game against Portland, which I'm a day removed. So last night, the game against Portland was extremely a welcome sight to see. You can tell Marcus Smart with that experience of playing with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. He knew exactly what to do at the end of the game, and he put the ball in the right people's hands, and they made plays. They made plays for this team. And that's what you need from Marcus Smart in those situations. You don't want him to try to do too much, which I feel like he tried to do in the beginning of the season. And I think this team is going to figure it out. The schedule coming up is kind of rough, but you can right the ship. We played the Denver Nuggets pretty well. Just lost it in the end there. We played Dallas pretty well, kind of lost that one in the end. So we played teams pretty well to start the season. It's just about closing and getting it done, making shots, and not giving up too many 3 pointers from the perimeter. Somebody please tell Taylor Jenkins to stop telling these guys to overhelp, man. Like, there's no reason to be overhelping. Like, in my opinion, there's no reason to be overhelping. You have Zaire, who's has all the capabilities to be an all-NBA defender at some point. You have 2 defensive players of the year candidates. You have Dez, who's playing at an all-star level, probably on both ends, as well as, a lot of different pieces on this team that can come in and play stifling defense, including Bismack Biyombo. So there's really no reason to overhelp. When you have two shot blocking forces like Bismack Biyombo, Jaren Jackson Jr., and people who can defend at the point of attack like you do have, um, make them play on the perimeter. All right, make them play on the perimeter and force people to drive. And in forcing people to drive, you're putting yourself in the best position to be successful because I'm sending them to my shot blocking forces that I have down low. I don't really understand the gap defense concept of packing the paint. I really don't understand it. So we'll see if that changes, man. I don't know who is in these post game interviews. Um, asking Taylor Jenkins these questions or whatever the case may be. But it's time to start asking him the hard questions because if we don't, that bug is not going to be in his ear and things are not going to change for this franchise and for this team if you're not asking the tough questions. And just to keep it all the way real and 100 with you, the Memphis Grizzlies market in terms of, media, they ask a lot of cookie cutter fucking questions, bro. And we're tired of the cookie cutter questions. We're trying to win a championship here, and coaches need to be held accountable as much as we're holding the John Morants of the world accountable when they don't have a good game or they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I would like to see more like tougher questions being asked in those post game interviews. But in terms of the Grizzlies, we have the Heat coming up, followed by I don't want to be wrong. Give me 1 second. I do not want to be wrong on this one. We have the Heat in Utah coming back, both 8 o'clock games in terms of I'm in Eastern time zone, 7 time zone for most of my people that are in Tennessee who will most likely be fans of this content. So, yeah, we have Miami and Utah back to back. Miami hasn't been started off so hot. They're 2-4 themselves. Utah shot the lights out against us. So it's time for some get back, man. After those 2 games, Wednesday and Friday at the Forum, you go on your West Coast trip and you go to LA and you play the Clippers and the Lakers, and then you play San Antonio at San Antonio. Then you're back home from Boston, who's probably the best team in the NBA right now. The path to getting back to 500 is there, man. The Grizzlies just have to take care of what they are supposed to take care of. Protect home court, win the games you're supposed to win. Before you know it, we'll be in game 25, pushing up on Christmas Day, and Ja will be back in full force, and we'll have a chance to make a run at this thing. But in terms of the Grizzlies, man, that's all I got on the Grizzlies, man. My panic level is not that high right now, but I would love for you to tell me what your panic level is with the Memphis Grizzlies. On a scale of 1 to 10, where's your panic level right now, man, with the Memphis Grizzlies? Let me know in the comments or let me know in the replies below. Let me know what your panic level is.
Toss it. Morant. Drive. 1 second left. Job line at home. And Morant is the hero.
Man. The Tennessee Titans, man. I had a lot of hope coming into the season for the Tennessee Titans. I expected Tannehill to be a vet, and with some of these pieces around him to be able to, have a better offense than we had last year, as well as Tim Kelly calling the plays now because you cannot get any worse than Ty Downing last year. But we didn't see those results. Just like clockwork, the last 2 years or so, Ryan Tannehill was hurt again. And, I predicted the season in the season previews when I was on the AKT podcast. I predicted that we start 2-4 and then we go into the bye and the sky is falling. Woe is me. And we come out of the bye, we can get a win. I did not necessarily predict that Will Levis will be the one leading us to those wins. And my God, is Will Levis a player, man, a player. He comes out of that bye week. He has 4 touchdowns against the Atlanta Falcons. I think those 4 touchdowns, the height, the distance, he threw 3 of the longest touchdown passes by air distance this season. A 47-yard TD to DeAndre Hopkins, which is fourth. 33-yard TD to Nick Westbrook Akina, which was a insane throw, 55 yards, fifth, and a 61-yard TD to DeAndre Hopkins, which traveled 51.7 yards in the air, which is eighth. Man, um, next up, he went on the road to Pittsburgh. Um, we knew that was going to be a tough task. We weren't expecting him to, break a record or make history again and throw for 4 touchdowns, whatever the case may be, against Pittsburgh. But we just wanted to see him be poised, make the right decisions, and give us a chance to win. And I will honestly say that if not for Will Levis, man, that game would have been over before it started. But he played so well that he kept us in that game, and he gave us a chance to win at the end. And that's all you can really ask for. I wish the coaching staff would have trusted him a little bit more and, gave him more control of that offense and more, opportunity to call his shots and be more aggressive. Um, but that's that Ryan Tannehill PTSD that they have. Like, simple as that. It's the PTSD that they have with Ryan Tannehill. And rookie quarterbacks are not supposed to be this good to start off. Speaking of rookie quarterbacks, CJ Stroud had an amazing game this Sunday, man. 5 touchdowns, 470 yards, 46 seconds on the clock. He drives down, throws a game-winning TD. One of the most amazing games I've ever seen in NFL history. I'm just being honest. And he played against Tampa Bay, and he was honestly hitting a lot of deep shots and slicing that defense up. And guess who the Titans play? Well, guess who the Titans play coming up this week? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not only do they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but because they played on Thursday, they have an extensive amount of time to prepare for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So if CJ Stroud was able to dice that secondary up the way he did, and they were able to protect the way they did, I'm so sure that if we can protect Will Levis, he'll probably put on another repeat performance of what he did against the Atlanta Falcons. But that's the key. We have to protect him. Offensive line is banged up. Nicholas Petit-Frere is out for the rest of the year. He's going on IR. But the good thing about that is Dylan Radins has, every time he's gotten a chance this year, he's played extremely well. So I'm expecting him to get his shot, hopefully. Dillard, he's not the answer, man. Like, he scares me against premier edge rushers. Like, he scares me. I don't think Tampa Bay has any premier edge rushers, so might not be such a problem. But I would love to see Raiders get his shot at left tackle, or even Jalen Duncan get his shot at left tackle and move Raiders over to the right tackle. But I do not want to see Andre Dillard. I do not want to see Andre Dillard this Sunday. Once again, Derrick Henry is in the running to be the leader rusher in the NFL. If he rushes for at least 90 to 100 yards this week, he's almost certain to be at the top of the mountain in terms of rushing yards in the NFL, or at least top 3, which is insane considering where he is. They keep saying Derrick Henry is washed, man, but numbers don't lie, man. Efficiency doesn't lie, man. The eye test doesn't lie, man. Like, he still has it. He still got it. So for our next game against Tampa Bay, these next 4 games are extremely important for us in terms of playoff hopes. A lot of people are hoping for us to tank. I don't like to see football that way, man. I just like to see teams just go out there and play hard and see where it gets you. So if the Tennessee Titans are able to go 4-0 over these next 4 weeks, I think they have Tampa Bay, the Jags. Let me see. I can tell you exactly who they have. They have Tampa Bay. Let's see. Okay, so they have Tampa, the Jags, the Panthers, and the Colts. You go 4-0 in those next four games. You're sitting at a record of 7-5, and you're giving yourself a chance to go to the playoffs, man. With the way Will Levis looks, man, honestly, in my honest and humble opinion, you're not gonna lose too many games, bro. Like you're not gonna lose enough games to be getting a top five pick or a top six pick. Like in my opinion, like your pick is probably gonna be all the way up to anywhere from 10 all the way up to 20. Like that's how I feel. I think this team has the ability to go on a run. They just have to unleash him, man. Will has shown us. I don't care about interceptions, man. Like you're going to be punting the ball away as much as we punt the ball away. I do not mind the kid throwing a few interceptions, man. Like I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I want to see him try to push the ball downfield, make good decisions, but try to push the ball downfield, man, and take some shots and try to win some of these games. I love his energy. He's infused a new energy on his team. Hopefully we can, our defense can snap back this week and be a little bit better. Didn't have a good week last week. But in terms of the Titans, man, these next 4 weeks are extremely important. These are definitely winnable games. You have two division games. You already dropped one to the Colts. You got to try to split with them. You got to try to sweep one of these division opponents if you are going to go to the NFL playoffs. That's if you're trying to go. Most people don't think we are going. That's a fair assessment. But I'm never counting out a Mike Vrabel team with a competent quarterback, man. And Will Levis has been competent. I got to get some Will Levis graphics up here, start celebrating my new franchise quarterback, man. But yeah, man, in terms of the Titans, man, that's just how I feel in terms of the outlook for the rest of this season.
Toss it. Morant. Drive. Job line at home. And Morant is the hero.
Yeah, man. So far, man, it's been a interesting NFL season, man. Like it's been super interesting. Not a lot of high scoring games, bro. I honestly feel like the offenses this year have been a total letdown across the league, and the defenses have been pretty dominant in terms of not a lot of points being put on the board. But in terms of MVP, uh, this is considering that this team makes the playoffs and is a division winner, all those good things. We might have our first wide receiver who wins MVP. We might have our first wide receiver who wins MVP, man. It hurts my heart to say it, but A.J. Brown has been amazing. Had 6 straight games of 125 yards, which is insane. His team has the best record in the NFC, in the NFL, actually. So I would not be surprised if A.J. Brown got a lot of consideration for NFL MVP, as well as Tyreek Hill, who crossed 1,000 yards 8 games into the season. And we have almost another 8 games to go. So who knows? You might be looking at a 2,000-yard receiving year for Tyreek Hill. And if he does that, if he even gets close, that's probably your NFL MVP. Like the wide receivers have really been showing off for both the NFC and NFC and AFC players right there. If they do not win MVP, both of them would probably undoubtedly be NFC and AFC Offensive Player of the Year. In terms of Super Bowl favorite, man, this is going to be. I look at the game and I see the game different. I see teams play. I see what teams are comfortable, what teams have an identity, and what teams are winning as well. So, in terms of the Eagles, man, I'm not really sold that they can win the big game. Like, I don't know what their identity is. Like, the running back committee thing is cool. The tush push is cool. Having the two superstar wide receivers is cool. But what is their identity? When the Eagles lose, they've had a lot of close calls this year as well. When the Eagles lose, they lose because their offense just can't figure it out. They can't figure out um, how to be dominant. Like they haven't figured out how to be dominant and how to be dominant all the time. Like what their identity is. Their defense, their secondary, is a little bit suspect. And so even though they are undefeated right now, I can't definitively say I love the Eagles to win the championship, to win the Super Bowl. Um, my Super Bowl favorite, I'm gonna pick two from the same conference right now. I'm gonna pick two from the same conference. Um, I really like Patrick Mahomes. I really think that they just have an identity. Like they know who they are. They have an identity. And when it comes time for playoffs, that's very dangerous. Like when you know who you are and you know how you're going to get this win and you know who you're going to, you know what plays you're going to call, you know who's going to make those plays for you. I just think the Kansas City Chiefs are that team right now. Like they know who they are. They're like the Brady Patriots. Like they know who they are. Even when they look down and out or they lose tough games, you still live with it because they know who they are. And we know when the playoffs roll around, they are going to do just that. They are going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. The defense is not going to be super dominant, but they're going to do just enough to keep their offense in it. And when you have the best player in the National Football League, he'll make something happen. And he'll make that game winning drive. He'll get that game winning get in field goal position, get that game winning field goal. It's just something that you can trust. Um, Speaking of trust, big trust. I think the Baltimore Ravens have a really good chance to win the Super Bowl this year. Um, they have an identity, man. Like they run the ball, they do this QB read, RPOs, they run the ball, they beat you up, they're smash mouth, and then Lamar just makes these throws that are spectacular half the time or makes plays with his legs that are spectacular all the time. And I just love what they're doing right now. I love their identity. The biggest thing, and it's always been the biggest thing for the Ravens, is just staying healthy. Like just staying healthy. Just stay healthy and give yourself a chance at the end of the year. But I'm choosing the Baltimore Ravens to be my Super Bowl favorite right now. Midway through the NFL season, the 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 obvious elephant in the room is just because you're good up to this point doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good at the end of the year. The Tennessee Titans started 7-3 last year and went on to lose out. And they picked 11 in this year's draft. So it's not a definitive pick, but so far, based on what I've seen, I'm choosing the Baltimore Ravens. Biggest disappointment, man. Um, this one was really tough to do. Honestly, this is really tough to do. But I'm gonna say the biggest disappointment to me has been the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, you can look at the record and you can say, oh, but they have a 5-2 record, whatever the case may be. It's not about that, man. Like the way they've done it hasn't really been as dominant as you expect them to be. I can make a big argument right now that CJ Stroud is the best quarterback in the AFC South because like Trevor Lawrence is good and he has those intangibles and he has the potential to be a consistent and elite quarterback, but he's not. Like he's just not. Like, and that's not to say that he won't be, because I am a Trevor Lawrence apologist. Like, I am a Trevor Lawrence fan, been that way since Clemson. But in terms of the NFL and what the expectations were, who he's supposed to be, and who he is, what this team was expected to be, and who they actually are, look at me with a straight face and tell me that you're scared of the Jacksonville Jaguars. No matter what team you're a fan of, are you scared of the Jacksonville Jaguars? Exactly. Like, you're not. You're not. And it's mostly because the inconsistency on the defensive end. They have stretches where they play well, but, like, it just doesn't strike fear into me, man. Like, it just doesn't. I think they're a team that it's hot and cold. When they're rolling, they're rolling. When they're not, they are very beatable. Like, they are very beatable. Very beatable. And I expected them, even as a Titans fan, I expected them to kind of be the lead in this division, but to also be a scary team. And right now, they are not a scary team to me. I also could have picked the Buffalo Bills for this question, as well as I could have picked the San Diego Chargers as well. I mean, Los Angeles Chargers. I'm sorry. San Diego is burnt in my brain. Nathaniel Thompson, Antonio Gates, some of the best years, burnt in my brain. But I say that just to say they could have also been up for biggest disappointments. Bengals were this close to being close. They were this close to being a part of just the biggest disappointments as well. But I would definitely say out of those three teams that I talked about just now, I would say the Jacksonville Jaguars are the most disappointing, because I expected them to have Super Bowl aspirations. And nobody really nobody's really expecting that. Like, honestly, like, nobody's scared of them the way they were talked about this upcoming season to make you feel like they were going to have a stretch of dominance. Like, not really scared. But, man, this has been Mismatch Era Podcast, man. I will catch you guys sometime next week, man. We'll talk about what happens in this next week of football and this next week of basketball. Will the Grizzlies get back on track? Will some of these NFL teams get back on track, namely the Titans? Will some of these teams start to go the opposite way? Unexpected things happen, man. Injuries, suspensions, all type of things. So it's going to be a fun season, man. But, whenever you want to, hear about your team, or you want to hear about Grizzlies or the Titans, because most outlets don't talk about them, this is your place to be, man. This is Mismatch Era Podcast. Coach Vaughn, we out.
At home, and Morant is the hero.